consider how God is at work among us, we take time in the midst of our 12 days of the Great Minnesota Get-Together to wonder and hear reflections from members of our congregation about how we see God at work at the state fair. Something that is a part of our daily living, because each and every one of us is a theologian. Each and every one of us is wondering about our relationship with God and has our own faith experiences and see God's work in so many different ways. This morning we have the pleasure to hear from 4 of our members about how they see God at work, in particular through something that is special to us as Minnesotans, the Minnesota State Fair. I invite up Maggie Kidney to come and kick us off. This morning we'll hear from Maggie Kidney, Eric Hassenstab, Elaine Olson, and Dan Shrogren.
Morning.
Good morning.
A few weeks ago, Pastor Amanda asked me to speak at this service, and I said, sure, no problem. And a little while later, I went into her office and asked her what I was supposed to talk about. And she said, seeing God at the state fair. Again, no problem. I like going to the state fair, and God is everywhere, right? So off we went on the first day of the state fair looking to see God. But God seems to have a sense of humor and doesn't always show themselves on demand. God didn't seem to be on the bus, or particularly at the park and ride either. The bus has got a late start, standing room only. Folks might have gotten a little bit crabby, concerned that no one cut in line in front of them. But the sun's shining, we're going to the fair, so who has time to stay crabby for long? Could that be God shining through to us? At the fair, I found a pair of socks I did had won a second place ribbon. That's definitely God. I'm not that talented. We went to the Crossroads Chapel, but it was too nice outside to stay there long, and really God didn't seem to be in there any more than anywhere else. And as we walked outside into that sea of people that anyone's been to the fair knows, when all of a sudden you look down the street and you see nothing but people, you realize God is all over the place, at the fair, in the world, there to see the faces of people around us, and not necessarily visible to our eyes. So once I realized that seeing God is not literally seeing with my eyes, I start to see God everywhere. In a stroller with a 2-year-old who's having a tantrum because they said they wanted ketchup on their Pronto Pup, when what they actually meant was no ketchup. God with an arm around that mom who has to listen to that tantrum and absorb the looks of those around her whose children never had tantrums in their life. And working at our park and ride is another opportunity to see God through ordinary folks. God presents us with so many chances to help each other out. The other night there was a woman by herself and kind of confused, and she couldn't remember where she left her car, but she was pretty sure it wasn't here where the bus dropped her off. 3 women who didn't know her or each other were concerned for her. We got her back on the bus. The bus driver was going to take her back and put her on the right bus after we figured out what other churches on Larpenteur had park and rides. And God was with them all. Happy people getting off the bus, tired, sweaty, sometimes rain-drenched folks getting off their bus with their souvenirs and the remnants of a bucket of cookies. God is with them all. The folks with dead batteries, lost keys, cars that won't start, waiting for rides. God is with them right here in this parking lot. And it makes you realize that seen or unseen, God is with all of us all the time. Thank you.
Maggie, didn't you get the memo? We were supposed to put everything on a stick? I don't know when we got that one. Oh, okay. Well, when I was asked to talk about this, I kind of was like, oh, what am I going to say? But then what came up is God's work, our hands. So I didn't even look at the ELCA website to get that one. But then what I decided to do was put a few words on some sticks here And instead of doing the whole Minnesota State Fair, I just did fair. So, I don't want to bore all of you guys, but yeah. So the first one, forgiveness. Fair. So you have to have a lot of forgiveness to work out there sometimes, as Maggie was saying. The first day, it was hot. There were hundreds of people in line. You know, they want to complain to somebody. So they complain to us, and you basically have to just listen to them and then kind of forgive and forget and move on. So that's F. Now we got A, approachable. So I'm hoping that everybody, when they come to our park and ride, see us as approachable and make it comfortable for them to kind of keep their car there. So it's just something that we should be and should show to all the folks that use this service. Okay. Now we got inclusive. We always pride ourselves on being inclusive, like within the walls here, but we like that to kind of spill out to the parking lot, because we see all types of people coming. So, you know, everybody is welcome here as well as out there. And then last one, relationships. We like to build relationships with our wider community, but also with our neighborhood. So one of the things about this is pretty much every time I work one of the ride or shifts, I hear from people that live close by that just love this service. But on the other hand, you do hear from people that really do not like the service. They're waiting for the fair to be over. And that's just where you have to kind of use the forgiveness, but also just try to treat them with kindness. So that is my fair on a stick. And who's up next? I think Elaine. My fearless co-chair. Oh, and there are a few spots open. I have my laptop.
Okay. It's hard to follow those two. But when I looked at the state fair as this great Minnesota event, I kind of related it to Moses trying to move all of those people to the promised land. Oh, sorry. Okay. All right. I was relating it to Moses trying to get his whole plan getting to the promised land. He had lots of willing workers, and that's what it takes to get that many moved. There are so many jobs, not just on the state fair end, but on the park and ride. And that's what everybody at GA was willing to help with. It really takes everybody to fill those slots. And if you could see those cars come in at 8 o'clock, in fact, the very first day I got there at 8:15, that parking lot was full. People had been there since 7, 6:30, and that never changed every single day. They were ready to get to the fair, and we just tried to help them find that slot. But it's really a stretch from Moses to today. But it really has to help. And we're getting paid for it. But that isn't the issue. The biggest thing is that compassion and that caring, reaching out to all those people who aren't getting on that bus because they were frustrated. And all you gotta do is listen. Talk to them, because time goes a lot faster when you're talking with someone. And that's kind of what we try to do, move up and down the line. Just ask them anything we can help you with. Water was really late, all that, but you just keep it up and invite him, come back again, and that'll do it. And then sometimes there are some funnies. Carol Dahlquist and I were that first day, and we're so busy getting cars, finding a spot for them, moving them to the back lot, trying to squeeze them in here. Anyway, all of a sudden we notice there's one at the very front row that hasn't been filled. And we just looked at each other and we said, the next gray hair could satisfy. Because we need gray hairs, we need a break sometimes. Anyway, and that very first car, he was very appreciative, very able to walk. Should have waited for a handicap maybe. But anyway, he was very appreciative, and that was just kind of fun. And we laughed. He said, "This has to be funny. It's sitting right there in front of us, and we can't see it." And sometimes that's what happens when God is there. He's kind of anonymous, and it's just those things happen. All right. What else? One other thing. Oh yeah, just connecting it, but they've touched on it. Last night, a gentleman came up to me and he said, "Is there any way you can help us?" And I said, "Whatever it is, we'll do our best." The church is locked. I had no idea what he was going to ask. His wife lost her wedding ring in the south parking lot. Now, every time I went back there, I kind of waited for something to glitter and show me, yes, we're going to find this. But we need everybody's eyes. If you're parked in the south parking lot, and maybe not today because it's rainy, but anytime you park up, keep your eyes open and just see. It's going to maybe show up, but they're sure that they lost it at that lot. So Rob will have the contact number, so turn it in to Rob. She was kind of upset, so anyway, according to him, and rightly so. Any of us would hate to lose that. It's just a band, gold and white, or I suppose silver, but that's my speed. I enjoyed my time. It's been a new learning experience for me, but not so much. Where I came from, we had a fair stand serving food, and there again, it took lots and lots of people. But the best beef commercial in Faribault County.
Good morning.
Morning.
Rick, I gotta hand it to you. When Amanda asked me to say a couple words, I just said, sure, no problem. And then I started thinking about it. I was going, all right, now how, God and the fair, what's the connection? And I was kind of pondering that. And I was literally standing at the fair one day, and that's exactly what I was looking at. I was looking down a street, and it was just jammed with people. And I don't know what it was, but at that particular moment, the word that came to me was love. And the words that sort of followed was, love God, love yourself, love your neighbor as yourself. And to me, Minnesota neighbors, it was like we have tons and tons of neighbors here. And as I walked through the fair, it was interesting to see all the different people that we have here. I mean, we have black people, red people, brown people, yellow people, old people, young people, families, singles. But they're all neighbors. And if we're true practicing Christians, I think we love all of our neighbors. And to a couple of the other speakers, doing the park and ride here is just a great way to meet and show our love to our neighbors. Because we get the greatest cross-section of people that come here to park their cars. And you get to interact with these people. It's just a really great opportunity, and it's actually fun. I really enjoy it because you can see these people who are getting on or getting off the bus, and when you give them a big smile and greet them, it's like they light up. They just turn on. And to me, that's just what it's all about, being a Christian and being a member of Gustavus and serving our neighbors and loving our neighbors.